Jordan, welcome to the Grin Gets Real podcast. Super excited to have you on here today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. Really looking forward to this conversation. I think that there's going to be, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to bring some knowledge that people don't have yet. That's my real hope for today.
Well, this is exactly why I'm having you on here. And I know before we, even got this booked, one of the things that we really dove deep into was just kind of your ambassador community that you have. You have two different versions, and then, just kind of some marketing strategies for product launches that you have found to be really successful. But before we even dive into that, let's lay the groundwork, the foundation, if you will. Tell us a little bit about, who you are, high level, who you are, what it is that you do.
Sure. Awesome. I always love asking that question on my podcast as well. It's just really opens things up. So a little bit about me. I started in business when I was 23 years old. First business that I bought was a Taco Del Mar restaurant, which is a chain. I saw it and I was like, man, I really want to get into business. So 23 years old, didn't know anything, didn't know how to read a P&L, and not just absolutely nothing. And decided to buy this business. Anyway, 5 years later, lost a lot of money. I ended up tripling the sales. So was really good at marketing, really horrible at running businesses. And that's still true today. I am not an operator. Yes. not a great operator of a business, but really good at finding people who are. So now, fast forward now, back in 2015, maybe 2014, my wife and I started a little clothing company called Little and Lively. It was out of our house. That's now ballooned into 4 different brands. That's a real Canadian sort of classic clothing company. We're continuing to grow and grow there. We own a few brands down in the States. Brand new one as of just a few days ago called Mountain Standard out of Boulder, Colorado. Everything sort of in the apparel outdoor kind of space down there. And then I also run an agency called Upgrowth Commerce. Anything e-com is really where I love to live. Except that I don't love talking about e-commerce all the time because I think e-com is just a channel of a brand.
Yeah.
Right? And I think people have gotten that kind of confused. It's like, no, I really love brands. And e-com just happens to be my favorite channel right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I love that you are also very focused from the brand perspective, because I do think that oftentimes it is missed. Now, as I had mentioned at the top of our conversation, one of the things that you've really just kind of sunk your teeth into are ambassador programs. So tell me a little bit about the types of ambassador programs that you have found to be the most effective, because correct me if I'm wrong, you have a couple of different styles of ambassador programs, ones that are free, ones that are maybe not.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me explain sort of, and I'll walk back to where all of this came from. So I've been hosting a podcast for years. We're almost at episode 400. It's called Secrets to Scaling Your E-commerce Brand. I have people on all the time talking about the different things that they do. And I remember years ago, this is probably two or 3 years ago, somebody was telling me about their ambassador program, but they couldn't tell me how exactly it worked. They could tell me like, yeah, this is like what they're doing, the kind of results that we're getting. And I'm like, I just want someone to tell me how you're running your ambassador program. Well, fast forward to this year. And so I continued to kind of look for different solutions. Fast forward to this year when Shopify acquired Dovetail, which is now Shopify Collabs. We saw Dovetail and sort of the uses that it had for it. And we thought, I think that we can build something here. We just needed somewhere to house people to track our ambassadors, right? And so we decided at Kindred, which is our 4 Canadian brands, to create the Kindred Crew. And so we always had VIP groups, right? Our VIP group is incredibly, it's about 10,000 people. And we can launch there, and we'll talk about those launches in a minute. We've got the VIP community, which essentially anybody can enter, right? Now we've got our ambassador, our Kindred Crew, which is now up to about 300 people. And those people we actually go through with a fine-tooth comb to see whether or not they're actually Kindred Crew material, right? Yeah. So we accept about 50% of them. Now, since we've been running this program, they are accountable for about $50,000 of extra revenue a month. So we're continuing to scale this ambassador program up. Now, the problem was I could never figure out how to actually get these people all into one place. I was like, I don't think a Facebook group is the right spot for them. So I think Facebook groups are incredible for your VIP group. I think Facebook groups will continue to get as much reach as possible. I really believe that Meta is still going that direction with Facebook. But I don't think that that's the greatest place to house a group like that. So an ambassador group. So we ended up actually putting them on Slack. And that was a massive game changer to be able to like immediately communicate with people. We thought that the uptake of going to Slack would be, we're like, maybe 50% of the people would, because we're dealing with moms, right? Who are, with their kids all the time at home. We're like, do they know Slack? And yes, they do. So essentially everybody was able to join Slack. So that was something that I was a little bit scared of to house them there. But I really encourage people when you're building out an ambassador program to house them on something other than Facebook. I consider Slack a little bit more of an owned channel that you're able to like really message with everyone one-on-one at any time.
Absolutely. So it sounds like for your ambassador program that what you were looking for, that housing, was a place where you can create a community out of your ambassadors. And that community looks like an engaging one-to-one conversation or maybe one-to-many. Slack is a really great example of being able to use that. I also think it's interesting that you think that it should also be outside of like Facebook groups as well too.
I believe that because you can't really do the one-on-one communication. Yes, Facebook is rolling out some messaging. Like, I don't know if anyone out there has noticed some of the beta kind of stuff Facebook's doing with rolling messages into Facebook groups. I don't really know if I like it or not. I don't know if I like the functionality. I go onto my messaging app and I'm like, this isn't a message. This is a notification from a group. And so I don't know if that's going to stick around. I don't like the user experience with it. So I mean, I'm one of 3 billion people that are on Meta's platform, but generally, I feel like I'm just a very plain vanilla person who kind of has similar thoughts and feelings as other people. So I don't know if they're going to keep that or not. So that's kind of the main reason there. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about with the ambassador program. We decided not to give financial kickbacks to our ambassadors. We decided to just make it more gamify it for them rather than financial kickbacks. Now, we've tried the financial kickbacks before. Gamifying it is absolutely by far way better. Now, not saying that we don't want to pay people to post for us. Absolutely. So when we're working with influencers and micro influencers, and we're really trying to like really hone in on their audience, yes, 100%. We'll always pay an affiliate commission, but not with our ambassadors. The reason being is that we really didn't want there to be that shift in the relationship between them just really loving our brand and getting, we give them a great discount. We give them 30% off, which we never do. We just don't do that as a brand. And so they get 30% off anything sale price. That's what they get. So they actually love our brand so much that they don't care about getting, $50 back in affiliate commissions. And I really do think that there is a shift that you can make as a brand when you start to pay people to do it, especially your ambassadors, right? And I just don't like it.
I mean, that's fair. Everybody has a different strategy. And one of the things that I want us to walk back to is really defining what your ambassador audience is, or who they are. Because one of the things that we had discussed was really turning those super fans into your ambassadors. So when you're talking about ambassador, when you're using that term, you're not, I was going to say cold calling, but that's such a sales term, right? You're not like blindly going out there and asking someone who doesn't know your brand to come in and say, hey, be part of the ambassador. You've actually reversed that and said, hey, super fan, will you join our ambassador program? Do you think do you think that is why you don't have to pay out? Because the other thing that you mentioned was influencers, right? And how those are different. Can you break that down a little bit for me?
Totally. So I want to walk back to something foundational here to explain why I truly believe that this is the way to build this, right? So I'm sure everyone's heard of the levels of traffic. Most people have heard of the levels of traffic of 1 through 5. So let me just quickly explain them. So 1 is awareness. They've never heard anything about you before, right? That's super top of funnel. 2 is they've engaged with your brand in some way. Maybe they've watched a video of yours. Maybe they've engaged on a Facebook post, something like that. But they've never actually gone to your website. Number 3, they've now gone to your website and maybe looked at a product. And again, this isn't just web. This is the way that customers become raving fans.
Yeah.
So we've got level 3, right? Website. Level 4, they've actually taken some kind of action. So now they've added something to their cart. Maybe at home, they've talked to their husband and been like, hey, I want to make this purchase. It's going to be a few $100 that they've, mentally added to cart. Number 5, they've now become a purchaser. Well, that's where most brands stop, right? They're like, awesome, we got them to purchase. Yay. Right? No, that's where we start. Right? That's where I get super, super excited. So now we ascend them to level 6, where they actually become part of our VIP group. Yeah. Right. And now we excite them, right? Now that they're part of the VIP group. And in our VIP group recently, we've had anywhere between 5 and 20 posts a day from people just posting about them in our outfits and their kids in our outfits, right? And so what that's doing is really building up that whole community idea around our brand, right? And so we're now ascending those people into level 7, where they get excited, right? They're really excited. And now they're starting to actually do some of the customer service for us. I love when people complain about an experience on the VIP group, because there'll be like 30 people immediately on them being like, no, they have the best customer experience ever. You have to just send an email to them or go into the website and they'll take care of anything. And we really do. That's one thing that we took from Costco and, Walmart back in the day. And I mean, even Amazon now, it's like, we just don't ask questions. We just take returns, right? Somebody one time sent us a picture of a ketchup stain on a shirt. It was like, this is how I received it. We're like, absolutely, we'll send you out a new one, right? After being at Disney for the last week, you understand that this works, right? Yeah. It just works. And I don't know what it is about it. So anyways, we get people really excited. And then level 8 is where they become an advocate, or essentially an ambassador for us. Okay. Right? And so we've done that hard work of getting them through the levels, right? So they have to have purchased from us to actually love us, to essentially ascend up to level 8. So asking for us to ask somebody to be an ambassador who's at level 1, right, who knows nothing about us, is kind of funny, right? Of course you have to pay them, right? It's like paying them to be your friend. Instead, we've actually...
Which sounds horrible, right? Say nice things about me.
Yeah. And I do think, and on the influencer side, I think that there's so much there, but that's much more of a transactional relationship at that point, right? These are not transactional relationships that we're doing with our VIPs. This is us creating a community and creating clothing that they rant and rave over, right? That's the one thing, right? We have a good product that people absolutely love and want to be a part of. Yeah. So I think that's the big thing and the reason why. So, if somebody was listening to this and thinking like, oh, I'm going to build out an ambassador program today, but I don't have a VIP group. Absolutely not. You can't start from zero, right? I think that you have to build that community, or you can pay them. Right? There is that option as well. And you can incentivize them in that sort of way. But I don't think that it's quite as effective with an ambassador group to do that. So instead, we create all sorts of fun incentives. So we're going to be throwing a fun party for everyone, all of our local ambassadors in the fall. We're always doing leaderboards, right? Of like, whose coupon code was being used the most. There's all sorts of really fun things like that aren't monetary. Just remember, like, most people aren't actually they don't actually care about money in that sort of way, right? Most people, it's really a tool, right, to do things for them, right? And so as soon as you make it, you turn it into that, you turn it into a bit more of a transactional relationship.
Yeah, I think there is a way I mean, to your point, there's a time and place to be able to pay for a post, right? And I think
Absolutely.
influencer marketing 1.0 was very transactional. I think in the creator economy, it's definitely evolving to let's develop that relationship. It's kind of taking that 6 to 8 approach to the 1 to 6 approach, right? Like, how do
Totally.
we get them there? Like, we're
Yes.
talking about like nurturing them there to get them to the 6. Now, let's
Yes.
talk about 6 stage that you were talking about. What are the guardrails to get to that? Are there guardrails, or do you just have people sign up to the VIP and then if they're posting frequently, then they get to the 7? And like, at what point do then they get to the 8? Do they get invited into the 8? Tell me about the guardrails for each of those steps.
Yeah, totally. So essentially, we're letting them self-select to get to 8, right? So we're
Okay.
not letting anybody who's not a part of our VIP group apply to be an ambassador, right? So we
Okay.
open up applications once a quarter. Generally, we're getting between 200 and 300 applications during that time. Every time that we run it, that same thing happens, and we're letting them self-select. And then we go
Okay.
in and we've got certain criteria that they have to meet, right? Do they have a public account, right? If they don't have a public account,
Yeah.
they can't be there. There's a few other criteria, and we run multiple ambassador programs at different brands. So I'm trying to remember what these ones are. But anyway, come up with the criteria that makes sense for you.
Yeah.
But don't make it easy, right? Don't make it easy
Yeah.
for people. Otherwise, it's going to seem cheap, and it's not going to seem like a great program that somebody wants to be a part of, right?
Yeah.
Putting up guardrails and putting up blockers for people is incredibly effective, right? It's incredibly
okay.
effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really a good thing. You know, like I'm hosting a big dinner with another e-com owner in Vancouver next week. We put up incredible guardrails for it. We're not telling them the place of the event till the night before. And people are flying in from all over, right? That makes it special, right? That makes an event special rather than being like, hey, everyone, come here, right? We want people to make sure that they feel like they're a part of something, right? Because they are, and we can create that, right? We can create this thing that is an amazing community to be a part of, but not everyone's a fit, right? And that's okay. It's really good to know that as a business owner that, hey, maybe you as a customer aren't a fit.
Yeah, I think that's so important that most people don't talk about it. They think, well, I've got to let everybody in, right? If I don't let this person in, how do I kindly reject them? And I don't think that it is. I don't think it's a matter of kindly rejecting. They either want to be part of it or they don't want to be part of it. And the things that people want to be involved in, they are willing to, jump through the hoops. Regardless of like the types of hoops. I mean, they're all different again, based on brands. You said something that really leads me into like that next section of what I want us to dive into. One of the other things that you're really passionate about is gated content. And I only chuckle because I always have this apprehension with gated content. Tell me how you're leveraging ambassadors with a gated content approach for a product launch, something similar to like what you were talking about, like with the dinner. I'm not going to tell them where to go up until the last minute. That's what I'm envisioning when you're talking about gated content.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So what we do when we launch, and I'll talk about a launch that we did. This was in August of last year. So we do being an apparel company, we do seasonal launches all the time. So we're actually moving to a bit of more of an evergreen model with seasonal launches, but for the most part, we're always doing seasonal launches, something new and fresh for people to see, right? So what we do is for about a week to a week and a half before, we're teasing the launch to people, right? We're letting them know like, hey, we're going to be launching this product. Now, if you want early access, because generally we do sell out of the most popular sizes, right? That just happens. Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball saying like this exact size is going to sell in this new product, right? You just can't forecast. We don't know exactly what people are going to like. We have a general idea and we kind of go with that, but lots of times we sell out. And so for 2 hours before the general public gets access to the website, we lock the website down. Generally lock it down for about 4 to 5 hours before. And then people have to have a password to enter the website. This isn't just to enter a collection. This is to enter the entire website. So we just shut the entire website down. So of course you get all the notifications from Google and from everyone like, oh, your website isn't accessible. We're like, yeah, we know. That's on purpose. And so then we give the password to them in the VIP group. And that's the only way that they can get that. So we've actually tied together our VIP group and our SMS notifications. The reason that we did that was because not everybody gets notified when we post on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they can forget. And so instead, the immediate notification is SMS. In my opinion, right? Like everybody, as soon as you get a text, you're going to look at it.
Yeah.
And so we pair those things together and we make sure that it's a really special channel together and that we don't abuse the SMS portion.
Okay, nice. Now, I have a natural kind of like this knee-jerk reaction to a website being shut down and getting also, those notifications from Google. What are the ramifications for this approach for, your domain authority, for example? Like, do you get dinged from a Google perspective with this type of approach?
Not that we've seen it all with our SEO. There's been nothing like that. I mean, websites go down on occasion for hours, right, for maintenance and that sort of stuff. So we're really not locking it for that long. And we so far have not seen any ramifications with that. Maybe if Google happened to do a crawl during that time, maybe then we would get dinged. But as far as we know, we haven't seen any ramifications. We still rank #1 in Canada for baby clothes Canada, so.
Yeah.
We haven't had issues like that we've seen. And we think either way, it's worth it. I'd much rather have 10,000 people banging down the door than 100,000 eyeballs who don't care anything about us.
Yeah, that is very true. It's definitely a unique approach, which is why I wanted to talk to you about it. Now, you talked about using your VIPs or leveraging SMS and your VIPs to provide them access to the website. Do you also leverage your ambassadors to just kind of share out like this is something that's happening, or do you keep it just to the VIP and ambassadors, the 6 through 8s?
So for the launches, we just keep it to the 6 through 8. That's it. For the gated portion of the launch, right? So for giving them the password. Now, after that, we expect from our ambassadors that they're going to post. And so we have, hundreds of ambassadors posting on their Instagram and their stories and reels. Generally, lots of them get it ready before that. We say, all right, guys, it's time to post. And then we start to see a big influx of those codes being used as well, which is awesome. And those links being clicked from our ambassadors.
Oh, I love that you just said that because typically when people are thinking about ambassadors and influencers, especially with codes and links, they're assuming that there is some money that's tied back to it. So you still use discount codes and affiliate link, or maybe not affiliate links, that's not what we would call them, but links with your ambassadors to just kind of share things out, but don't monetize that.
Exactly. So we still track it, but we don't monetize it. Yeah. So interestingly, on our VIP group recently, our ambassadors would, post pictures of their kids and then say, hey, for 10% off, use this code.
Okay.
And it just kept happening on the VIP group. And we felt a little bit funny about it. We're like, it's funny that they're kind of marketing to our VIPs. And so somebody wrote a post and it was seen by essentially the entire group that was like, hey, this feels a little bit weird that they're doing this. Do they get a kickback? And people are like, no, we don't get anything. It's just for fun. And so they really felt sold to in that moment. So we ended up actually changing our one of the policies in the ambassador group saying no sharing codes in the VIP group, right? Only posts. That's it. And then we let people know, like, no one's getting paid for any of this. This is just them helping out the brand. And the only thing that they get is an extra big discount to post this often.
So it sounds like your VIPs, your 6 through 8s are so engaged in this community. Aside from housing this kind of conversation in this community in Slack, how else are you creating in moments for them to engage so that they get that excited? Like, do you do like quarterly things, monthly things? Like, what are you doing to get them to buy in so strongly?
Yeah, so one thing that we have a lot of, one of the things I'm terrible at a lot of things. There's a laundry list of things, but something I'm really good at is making connections with other brands. So again,
Okay.
having 400 people on my podcast who run other e-commerce brands, we generally have great connections with all of these different companies, and we also own a bunch of different brands. So we leverage those relationships and those brands to do giveaways within our
Oh,
ambassador
nice.
program, right? So
Okay.
actually, as of today, we're running a fun one where we gave them a whole script of something that we want them to do. So anyone who owns this certain pair of leggings, we'd love for you guys to do this. We're going to give you $100 gift card to this shoe company that we know, and all we do
Oh,
is we just
nice.
trade with that shoe company. And so we're constantly trying to engage them with things like that. And so we'll get about 100 reels out of this to be able to use. Maybe 20 of them will be usable for ads or whatever, because we can't be there producing them as they're creating the reel. But some of them, we just get this absolute gold out of it for content. And then we just have this constant content stream. We literally have 200 reels waiting to be posted right now because of our ambassador group.
That's insane. That the value of the content for just from an organic social perspective, as well as something that you can use for email. And then on top of it, like your paid posts is completely invaluable. So I would assume
and page content as well, right?
Yes.
Like putting those videos on the page, because a lot of people will look at an item, right? And they'll look at just like, oh, it's on this one model who looks, this thing looks great on this one model. But then they see normal, regular people posting about it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I didn't want that until I saw you wearing it because you look like me, right? People want to come and see themselves in your website. It's super, super important.
Yeah, you have to be able to, they're essentially your brand storytellers, right?
Yes.
Which
is
amazing.
And we're just nudging them, right? We're just nudging them to help them tell our story properly, right? In the way that we want it to be told.
I love your approach to creating a community of just super fans that are just doing it because they're so bought into your brand story, and who you guys are in general. That's fantastic. Now, I do have a final question before we wrap it up. It is our prediction time. I'd love to hear from you about what you see changing for marketers in like the next year. There are a lot of things that you touched on, like SMS, your ambassador group, the gated content. What do you see changing for marketers over the next year?
Yeah, so I don't think things are going to get easier. That's one thing that I absolutely know. I think that if brands are not taking advantage, if brands are not creating a creative suite, a creative company, essentially a media company within their company, they are going to lose, right? Those are the brands that we're looking at that we're like, oh no, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it. Right now, we're creating a 3-person media company just to support our brands, right?
Okay.
And so these are the people that I think are really going to win, the ones that can iterate, the ones that can put out hundreds of pieces of content and be like, that's the one that's going to work for ads, right? That's the one. So that's really what I see as the next year. And then the other part is automated targeting, right? We're seeing Performance Max on Google just absolutely crushing anything else out there. And the problem with it is that marketers hate it. Actually, marketers don't hate it. It's the old school Google people who hate it because they have no control, right?
Yeah.
Marketers, like classic marketers, love it because it's actually about copy and it's about creative and it's about offer. So those are the things that are really going to matter in the next year. If you don't have those things down, if you don't have good offers to get people into your brand, you're not going to win in the next year, right? You can no longer just boost a post on Facebook and have a 70 return on ad spend. It's just not going to happen anymore. You got to get really good at your creative and your offer. And then you're seeing Facebook with Advantage Plus right now that's rolling out to all of these brands. So Advantage Plus shopping is phenomenal, but there's no control for you as the brand. And so people are like, I don't want to do it. I can't target these specific people. Well, Facebook or Meta has gotten that good again post iOS 14.5, where just let them do it, right? But you better have a good offer and you better have good creative, or it's not going to work, right? Whereas you could get away with that in the past. You just can't get away with that going forward. The other just really quick prediction is brands who do not have at least 3 legs on their sales stool are going to lose. It's a wobbly stool, right? So e-com, wholesale, custom, all of these different ways that you can get out there and sell. Fair is a huge one that I don't see enough brands taking advantage of. We, between our brands, are doing multiple 7 figures on Fair, and I'm like, where are all these other brands? Where are they at? So really thinking about that, whether that's flagship retail, just something to make that stool stable.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of omni-channel. That's not the right terminology for what you're talking about. I do love the idea of a stool. I'm a visual person. I don't want to sit on something that's wobbly. And I think as a brand, you don't want to. I also am obsessed with this prediction of creative, because I'm interpreting creative as content, because you are right. You have to be able to reach the masses, and creative is a great way to be able to do that. I want to see myself in what is being posted out there in order to know exactly that you get me. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an emotional connection to be a storyteller. And that's how you can leverage creative and content for that.
That's
Well,
exactly right.
I appreciate you hopping on here and just talking me and walking me through all of your just kind of insights in regards to just product launches and your ambassador program. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. This was really fun.
Absolutely.